Sweet. Flatline MMA podcast episode number 31. The boys are here and the UFC is back, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, we did our recap of the absolutely stacked, the absolutely wild UFC 249 card, but the UFC blessed us with two other fight nights within 8 days. So all in the same arena, the ViStar Memorial Arena in Jacksonville. We're going to go over the two cards. So we had Wednesday night, we had Anthony Smith take on Glover Teixeira in the main event. That was filled with a couple fun fights as well. And then recently, this last Saturday, Overeem taking on Walt Harris in the main event. I don't really know. I think they named the Wednesday night card. That was UFC Jacksonville. And then the card on Saturday was UFC Florida, I believe. So let's go back to UFC Jacksonville, Kevy. Let's just start off. We had a couple fun fights on this card. It was a Wednesday night too, so I think some people liked that. Some people didn't. I think a lot of people maybe just recorded it and watched it the next night because I think it got over still around like 12 o'clock anyway. But why don't we start off with, I think, the one that I was looking forward to, one I thought was going to be a scrap, Ricky Simón taking on Ray Borg. I know we were texting throughout this one. Fun fight. I think obviously Ray Borg, a title challenger. I think his highlight of his career might be what Demetrius Johnson did to him with that flying armbar. But obviously this guy can fight, taking on Ricky Simón, who Ricky Simón came into the UFC. He was undefeated. He definitely had a little bit of a run, got stopped by Uriah Faber like really quick. And I think, I don't know whether that was a fluke or not, but Ricky Simón, someone who's a powerful wrestler. Overall, fun fight. I think these two went at it, man, and I'm fine with the decision. I think Ricky used his wrestling a lot, and the dude's an absolute tank. So what'd you think about that fight?
Yeah, exactly. I think the difference maker was Ricky's wrestling in that one. He was getting the takedowns, and the striking exchanges were pretty even.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think the difference maker there was the wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. Dude, Ricky's a big boy for that weight class. Big boy.
Yeah, he is. And he lost the mullet for that fight, too.
Dude, I was just going to bring that up. He shaved the mullet. I'm pissed. I don't know. Maybe that helped him. I think maybe that helped his swag a little bit. But props to those guys because that was a fun fight. Following up that one, we had another fun one. I know me and you were looking forward to this one, especially lightweight bout, Alexander Hernandez taking on Drew Dober. I think this one had all the likes to be a fight of the night, a knockout of the night, whatever it was there. Alexander Hernandez obviously coming into the UFC with the hot hand. I remember he knocked out Darnush in like the first minute. And that was his UFC debut. And then he took Darnush's ranking. So he was 13th off his first UFC fight. So he had the hot hand. Obviously, we all kind of know what happened afterwards. Cowboy kind of humbled him a little bit. So I know his trash talk there wasn't too kind to Cowboy and a UFC veteran like that. So I think a lot of people, people like this guy, but a lot of people hate this guy. And then just taking on an absolute savage, Drew Dober, training partner of Justin Gaethje, so you know how hard this guy goes. You know that this guy can take a punch. We knew this was going to be fun. Drew Dober getting it done in the second, but I think overall, for as long as it lasted, great fight. And Drew Dober made his name for himself. He's got a number next to his name entering this week. What'd you think about this fight? Because I think the first thing we texted each other was Drew Dober looks like an absolute tank in there. He looks 20 pounds heavier. So what'd you think about this fight?
Yeah, he was huge. I mean, it's a good fight. You get two young guys. One of them, I think Hernandez was 15th, ranked 15th going into that fight.
Yeah.
I think he might have dropped a few spots. So it was a big one for Dober to get that win, to make that name for himself. And, Hernandez needs the win as well to move up the rankings.
Yep.
But, yeah, a lot of activity. Hernandez, super fast. A lot of movement, lateral movement. It kind of had Dober not confused, but gave him a little bit of trouble in that first round.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then once Dober landed one of those shots on him, Hernandez felt that power, and it seemed like he kind of backed away from the fight a little bit. He didn't want to engage as much. He started using his wrestling, hitting some takedowns, but Dober is just, kind of like Gaethje. Gaethje dealt with Ferguson. Kind of took his time, picked his shots, and went for the opening.
Yeah, I think you definitely saw a lot of patience out of Dober because there was multiple times where he had Hernandez hurt and he didn't rush in for the kill because we even saw Hernandez, give it up for him. He took Dober down after getting rocked too. So I know we were going back and forth on that, but that was pretty impressive on Hernandez's part. But I thought Dober did a good job being patient and not trying to finish too quickly and run in and risk getting, I know he got taken down, but not submitted or anything like that. So overall, real fun fight. Dober's got a ranking next to his name this week. So obviously it's cool to see, Dober was training with Gaethje. Gaethje was training with Dober for this whole camp. So love to see those two guys win both of their fights during this whole thing. So you could tell that they definitely pushed each other to the limit. So we knew that was going to be a fun fight. Glad there was a finish in that one. So that was great. Moving on, we had the co-main event. Heavyweight bout, Ben Rothwell, OSP making his heavyweight debut. Overall, I thought it was, an okay fight. OSP looked absolutely massive in there, friggin' 240 pounds. I think Rothwell just kind of got the better of him, man. I think he just overpowered him. Obviously, having that experience at heavyweight definitely helped Rothwell. Rothwell's fought everyone and their mother. OSP getting new to this division. So I do see OSP maybe having a little bit more success in heavyweight, getting a couple, bouts under his belt. But, he was fun to watch at light heavyweight too. I mean, he gave John Jones a run for his money. I know a lot of people were like, was that the John Jones that was coming off roids, all that stuff. So, but, John didn't finish OSP in John's comeback fight to win the interim belt. So, but overall, yeah, that fight was good. Hopefully we see OSP fighting heavyweight because I think that's interesting because he's so ripped up for a heavyweight. It's crazy. And then on to the main event. This one was going to be a fun one. We had two title challengers going at it. Anthony Lionheart Smith taking on Glover Teixeira. And, I mean, for me, complete opposite outcome. I'm not going to lie. I thought Anthony Smith was going to dominate this fight. I was like, this guy's good. He took on John Jones. He's got the hot hand right now. He's coming off obviously a huge win over – he just beat Gustafsson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, huge win over Gustafsson. So to me, I was like, Glover Teixeira really getting older. He had his shot at the belt, stuff like that. So I was like, Anthony Smith all the way. And wow, was I wrong. An absolutely one-sided beating by Glover Teixeira. A lot of people arguing the fight should have been stopped earlier. Anthony Smith is coming out saying, like, no, like, I'm a man. I took it. Like, I don't care. Kev, what'd you think about that fight? Because it was just something I didn't expect at all.
Yeah, I mean, watching the first round, the way Smith came out and Teixeira came out, it's kind of how I expected the whole fight to go.
Yeah.
Anthony looked quicker, stronger, bigger. But yeah, he looked like he kind of faded in the second round.
Yeah.
And Glover just took over from there on out, from the ground and pound to on the feet. It didn't seem like Smith was all there when he would get back up to the feet. He was throwing. He was still trying to, stay in the fight. But yeah, he definitely wasn't all there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he just gassed, man. I don't know what it was from. Was it from the conditions throughout his training camp or whatever it was? But I feel like Anthony Smith is known for his cardio, man. We saw him, take a beating in that John Jones fight, but he kept coming, man. But I mean, I forget what round it was. Anthony Smith is spitting out his teeth, giving it to the referee. It was just it was an ugly sight to see. But obviously, these guys are fighters, man, and they're not going to give up. You know what I mean? So especially a guy with, his nickname is Lionheart, so I don't think that guy's ever given up. He's taken some beatings in his career, but he's also given a ton. So, and give it up to Glover Teixeira, man. One of the older guys in the division, and he put a beat down on a former title challenger. So, curious to see what's next for Glover. I don't know if he's making another run for John Jones here. I know he had some harsh words for John afterwards about some comments that he made and stuff too. So, I think that's interesting. Obviously, I do think we need a little bit of a spark in the light heavyweight division, especially with John saying, is he going up to height? Is he going up to heavyweight? What's the deal with the Reyes rematch and Jan Blachowicz and Thiago Santos? So I'm just curious. I want some light in the heavyweight division, light heavyweight division, because I think it's been kind of just scarce, man. I think he's been on top so long. It's kind of like when DJ was in the flyweight division. I think we need some like new blood to come out and grab that belt. So I would love to see, Jones kind of make his way up to heavyweight to take on. You knew this one was coming. Obviously, there's no rumors yet or Dana confirming anything, but John Jones is calling out Francis Ngannou, which you got to be an absolute psycho. We saw what happened to the last person to call out Francis Ngannou, which was Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and that ended in 20 seconds. So let's just get into this one real quick, just because we're talking about the light heavyweight division moving to heavyweight. What do you think about a potential John Jones-Francis Ngannou matchup?
I don't think it's good for his first fight at heavyweight.
I don't either.
We've kind of seen that with over St. Preux too. When you put that much weight on, and you get a guy that's gonna be 40 to 60 pounds heavier than what you're used to fighting on top of you,
yeah,
it's just a whole different game. And especially with someone like Ngannou, as dangerous as he is, I don't necessarily think. I mean, I can see how it makes sense for him. Whereas, you know, he's undefeated right now.
Yeah.
Light heavyweight champ. The only fight besides a title fight in the heavyweight division, like the biggest one, would be Ngannou. And then if he beats him, then it gets him the title.
Yeah.
Whereas if he were to fight anybody else, he'd have to have, you know, like 3 or 4 fights in the heavyweight division to get that shot. But yeah, I think it's a dangerous fight. But I do see why he wants it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's getting bored, man. I think it's kind of like the whole Cejudo thing. It's like Cejudo just beat like 4 legends in a row. It's like, why would he want to go up against a guy like, Peter Yan or anyone like that? And that's kind of where Jones is at. It's like, this is a big super fight for him. There's not too many super fights for John Jones just because he's done so much in the sport. So, I mean, the UFC could take all my money because I will watch that one. I'll buy that one 100 times. I am curious to see what John's strategy would be. We put up that post the other day saying John was like, let's test my chin because I'm pretty confident in it. But like, who the hell wants to test their chin against a guy that just windmills people to death? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with you. I don't think that's the smartest fight. I think give him not a layup fight at heavyweight, but give him someone, in the top 15 to beat up on, prove that he can bulk up and he's got the strength and he's got the power for heavyweight. And then I think you make the big fight because obviously, everything kind of sets up for the Stipe DC rematch, right? The trilogy. Whoever wins that one, I don't know. Is the UFC hoping that DC wins so they could make a Jones DC at heavyweight? Because I think that people want to have that question answered a lot, but I don't know. I just think, if Jones gets knocked out by Francis, I'm not saying like everything he's done or his legacy, but it kind of takes away from a lot that he's done because he's the one that called out Francis, right? He was talking about fighting DC at heavyweight. He was talking about taking on Stipe. And, when you call people out like that and you lose, it kind of takes away a little bit from, the aura about you and stuff like that. And no doubt in my mind do I think Jones can compete at heavyweight 100%. He's got all the skills. He's as big as these heavyweight guys. But like you said with OSP, we got to see what John looks like putting on all that weight. We've got to see how he performs and all that stuff. So, but curious, who do you got in that? I want to hear just a quick prediction, very early prediction.
I think Ngannou.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
You think just quick knockout? Because obviously he ain't going past the first round with Jones.
Yeah, I just think he's so powerful that all he needs is one.
Yeah.
And we've seen Jones. He does get hit. Dom Reyes did that in the last fight. DC was able to touch him. So he does have some flaws in his defense, and with someone like Ngannou, like he just needs that one opening.
Yeah. I mean, it's when I look at Jones, right? I obviously Jones is good everywhere, and he's kind of evolved his game over the long amount of time that he's been in the UFC. And I think it'd be interesting. I mean, does he take the Stipe approach? Does he just survive that first round and then kind of take him down at will and do what he needs to do? It's curious. I I personally think that Jones is good enough to beat him, but if it doesn't get out of the first round, it's all Francis, I think. And I think Jones is going to be running that first round, like trying to do everything he can to get out of the way of that right hand. I think if it gets out of the first round, just like the Stipe fight, I think it's all Jones, to be completely honest. Which brings me to my next point. Francis beats Jones. Stipe beats DC in the trilogy. Did Francis evolve enough to take on a guy like Stipe again and beat him? Or do you think this is the same old song and dance that Stipe will do exactly what he did in the first fight to him?
No, I think it'll be different.
Really?
Yeah, you have to consider, having your first title fight like that, and like the way he rose through the ranks in the heavyweight division was pretty quick. So I think that there's probably some nerves that went into it, especially going against someone like Stipe.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a different fight. I don't know if he necessarily wins, but I think it will be a different fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Francis. I want to see him do well. And I think it's at the point now where we're seeing like Mike Tyson shit, where it's like, Ngannou's stepping up. This thing's going to end in a minute. It's 4 fights in a row. 2 minutes and 23 seconds in his last 4 fights. That's in MMA. That's unheard of. So I would love to see them rematch. You know what I mean? I love DC to death. I don't want to see DC Francis because we know what DC is going to do. Stipe will, like in the first fight, stand up on the first round with Francis, and that's what I want to see. I want to see someone that's not afraid to take Francis on. Respect to Jairzinho for, he stood with them. Obviously, that didn't end well, but think about all the other guys, JDS, Kane, they all tried to stand there and do what they needed to do. It just, when you do that, you're going to get knocked out with Francis. So curious to see, the light heavyweight division evolve. Heavyweight division obviously has some puzzle pieces that they got to put together. I think the trilogy is going to answer a lot of questions. So I'm super excited about that. Hopefully that happens in the summer, and Jones and Ngannou maybe fight in the summer. Who knows? Francis just made quick work. Jones hasn't fought in a little bit. So curious to see what happens there. And then moving on, we had this Saturday's card, last Saturday's card, UFC Florida. I think they were tagging it as. We had a couple great fights. I know we had a lot of controversial decisions on there. We had Song Yadong, Marlon Vera. A lot of people had it scored for Vera. I know he was going off on the Ariel Helwani show. For me personally, I did give that fight to Vera. I think he did plenty to win that. Song Yadong are getting lucky in 2 fights. I know his last fight, he got a draw too, so that's crazy. And then one of the more fun fights within the quarantine that we were going to see, Danny Ige taking on Edson Barboza. Edson Barboza's first fight at featherweight. I know we were talking about this. I have no idea how Edson made this weight. I have no idea because he's already shredded at 155. But what'd you think about just like Edson dropping down to featherweight? What do you think? Do you think this could be like a weight class for him? You think this is like a one-time thing? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, either way, both divisions are super tough.
Mm.
It's not like he's hopping into an easier division by dropping the weight. I don't really know why he made that decision. I think he looked good at 155. He was still competitive, still in the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
That division. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's just someone that like he's fought everyone at lightweight, so I think he just kind of wanted a different taste. And obviously featherweight is killer's row too. You got guys underneath Edson and Dan Ige, like what I mean. We got guys like Calvin Kattar, Jeremy Stevens, Yaya. Like those are the guys that Ige and Edson are gonna fight next. So it's like I wouldn't want part of any of those names. But in this one too, I kind of thought Edson did enough to get this done. He knocked down Ige. I definitely had it 2-1 Edson for this one. So that was another kind of controversial decision there. Yeah. Then another one moving on to the co-main event, Claudia Gadelha taking on Angela Hill. Here's another one where a lot of people had Hill winning this fight. And Gadelha came out with the decision. Kev, I don't know what you thought about this one, but I thought Hill did enough in this one too. So that's three decisions that could have went either way here.
Yeah, no, I think the same thing, especially like with the amount of damage that she put on Claudia. And she had a knockdown. I forget if that was the second round.
Second
she
round.
did that. But I was listening to, I think it was the Rogan podcast, and they were saying that the stats, like the significant strikes and all that, were in Claudia's favor. So I guess you can kind of take that into consideration. But just watching the fight, it looked like Hill had it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Hill too. She's someone that kind of cowboy-esque, where she'll fight anytime, fight anyone, really anywhere. So, but overall, good scrap. It was good women's scrap. They were going at it too. So this one was, I think, the closer of the three bad decisions, I'd say. But this is a fun one. When you see this kind of in the co-main, you're kind of like, oh, but it ended up being they were throwing hands. So, both of these girls, obviously, they're killers in that division. So they got plenty more fights to come. And then we got the main event, the heavyweight fight. We had Alistair Overeem taking on Walt Harris. Obviously, Walt Harris's first fight back from the tragedy of losing his daughter. The UFC kind of using all that as promotion and stuff. So I think it definitely fueled Walt to come out and give a great performance. And you could tell he was motivated, man. I thought this fight went as advertised. Walt came out and he was swinging. And he had Alistair in trouble. I thought they were going to call it, and I thought this was going to be a great night for Walt Harris. And it was, perfect storybook, Cinderella story, right? The ref doesn't stop it. Alistair gets up, and then from there, you could tell that Walt just used all of his energy, man. You could tell that he put everything into that to knock down Alistair. And then, Alistair getting the TKO victory in the second here, just kind of ground and pound. But Kev, overall, what'd you think about this heavyweight fight? What'd you think about Overeem still going at it at 40 years old, man?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you just said. I mean, yeah, Harris got the knockdown early. There was a lot of unanswered shots where, you could make the case that the fight should have been stopped. But Overeem, he wasn't out of it. He got knocked down, but, like, he was still in the fight, still completely aware. Yeah, I guess it's just up to the referee to make that determination, and he saw that in Overeem, so he allowed him to fight. He was able to get back up to his feet, finished out the round pretty good, and then I think it was a head kick that he put Harris down with in the second, and he took his back, kind of had him in a compromised position. Harris couldn't move one way or another. It was just too many unanswered strikes, so stopped the fight there. But yeah. I mean, it was fun to watch, the back and forth where Harris had him in a lot of trouble, and then Overeem puts him into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, good fight overall.
Yeah, obviously, heavyweight scrap between two guys that can put your lights out. Overeem, he's got so many knockouts on his resume. You know how good he is. He's a Hall of Famer. So good to see him still kicking at 40, man. I know Dana said that, Ulster, he definitely deserves a heavyweight guy in the top 5, which, hey, man, if he, obviously he's had a tough couple of last fights, right? He got his friggin' lip blown off. He's gotten killed by, Francis Ngannou, but I'd like to see him kind of make one more run. Who knows? He's obviously a dangerous guy. So, and then for Walt Harris, obviously just like kudos for him for coming back, for everything that he's been through. And obviously he's an inspiration like everyone out there. So, hopefully he gets another big fight. Obviously, he was just a main event where a lot of people just had his eyes on him. So people are going to know his name. People are going to know his story. So, and he's good, man. I think obviously, he said he's going to come back better. He's going to come back, mentally, physically better. So, and I don't doubt that because he's an absolute beast. So, great card overall. But the UFC getting it done during quarantine time, man. What did you think kind of overall about the 3 fight cards in the 8 days? I mean, we were kind of skeptical at first, I think, just because of, what happened April 18th when everything got canceled and stuff like that. So what did you think overall about like what the UFC did? And did you find that it was a success, and that moving forward, we can watch this sport like this moving forward with no like fans or anything like that? So what'd you think?
Yeah, I think Dana had a little bit of urgency knowing that, things with this coronavirus change day to day.
Yeah.
So setting up the 3 events like that, I think was him just not knowing what the next week held. So he wants to get these events in now, get these fighters paid. Um, so I think it went as good as it could have, to be completely honest. Like the only thing that I wish went different was Jacare wasn't sick and we could have
Yeah.
seen him fight. But other than that, I think everything went completely perfect.
Yeah, I think kudos to Dana because, I mean, I think he brought sports, put it back on the map. I think a lot of other organizations, not just like MMA promotions, but I think like, baseball, hockey, I think basketball need to look at that and say it can still be entertaining without fans. I know, UFC had a pay-per-view event, which is a lot different, but they also had 2 free cards that anyone in the world could have watched. So, and I think a lot of people, they definitely gained some new fans. I think if you weren't an MMA fan and you ordered the Gaethje and Tony Ferguson fight, I think you're definitely a fan now because those are the 2 perfect people to get you into the sport. So I think the UFC definitely gained a ton more fans. I think Dana White, everything he did was super successful, kept all the fighters safe. Who knows? I mean, maybe next week we're going to find out 10 fighters had it, whatever. I don't know what it's going to be, but I think they did a pretty good job with the testing all week. They showed Dana White getting swabbed 3 different times. So he's a sicko. But yeah, I'm just excited to continue seeing fights. Fun one that just got booked. I think the next card is going to take place May 30th. I think all that's to be determined, especially the rest of the card here. But we got Tyron Woodley, Gilbert Burns official. Hell of a fight. Tyron Woodley coming back, first fight back from losing his belt to Usman. I know he ain't happy. And Gilbert Burns, who's on an absolute tear right now. Obviously, Gilbert Burns just knocked out Damian Maia. In similar fashion, he did it in Brazil when there was no fans when all this started. So I think Gilbert Burns is kind of used to the environment now, and we're going to see him shine at the lights. But obviously, I think people forget how dangerous Tyron Woodley is. He defended his belt, 5 times. I mean? He's an absolute beast. He's got power. His wrestling's ridiculous. So that's a fun one. Excited for that. And then I believe the next card after that is UFC 250. I know a lot of people have been complaining how not good this card is. It's obviously headlined by the GOAT, Amanda Nunes, taking on Felicia Spencer. The rest of the card, definitely is lackluster. But fights are back, buddy. We're watching fights finally, and people are already complaining. I hate it. But the true fans know we're going to be watching. And then I think we just got a stacked summer ahead of us. I think, June, July, August, they got a lot of fights to make up. And, who knows where Conor McGregor lies, whatever's happening with Gaethje and Khabib, we got a ton of stuff going. So UFC's back, baby. Hoping, maybe Bellator will get back on, we'll see what happens with the rest of the promotions, but unreal job by Dana getting together. Obviously UFC 249 was a huge success. I read that it did about 700,000 pay-per-view buys, which is amazing. That's that's pretty goddamn good. So you can tell that Gaethje's got some star power now. Obviously Tony had star power. So excited to see what, these next events are going to do numbers-wise because, we're going to be watching. So what do we got, buddy? Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, man. Flatline MMA podcast, episode 31. Until next time. Peace.